Oh, goody.
Alright, what's going on everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So in this one we are taking a look at the super secret X23 deck. If you've been following me on Twitter or on stream a bit, I talked about this. We've brewed up a really cool X23 deck that I think she is finally, more deserving of the spot in, because she does some stuff in this deck that would make it so the deck really can't function in the same way without her. Whereas in a lot of other decks, she's been more of kind of a okay addition, but really hasn't shined to her full potential. I think this is a deck where she really shines and makes an impact in a way no other card would. So we're going to talk a little bit about the game plan of this deck, how it works, what it's trying to do, and why X23 is so effective in it. I'll have some gameplay going on in the background while we're doing this, showing it off a bit. I do want to give a special shout out to SafetyBlade for cooking this one up. He's one of the best deck builders I know, and if you're not already following him, you should be. Definitely check his links in the description below. But he cooked this one up. I definitely would not have thought of the Ghost Rider angle, and I've been really impressed at not only how well it works, but just how fun it is to play. Ghost Rider is a really neat card. It's one I miss playing with, and I'm happy there's finally a home for it again. And tomorrow I'll be posting this deck, earning us an infinity ticket over in Conquest against some other fairly powerful decks. So the idea with X23 here is she is a very high tempo play that allows us to do some really strong mana cheat. So the main way we have of activating X23 here is Colleen Wing. Now, the way this deck is designed, you're pretty much never in a situation where Colleen has a risk of discarding something you don't want it to discard. And that's by design, and it's definitely a big part of what makes this deck very effective. The idea is we generally are going to be playing our Kitty Pryde on 1. You pretty much never play out the X23 unless you're not going to be discarding it that game, or maybe if there's a beneficial location. But most of the time, it's kind of more beneficial just to be discarding it with Colleen. We have Kitty Pryde and Angela as a little package in their own right. That's going to pump up a ton of power in one lane from Angela. We can spread Kitty around into a different lane to put that power somewhere else towards the end of the game. Wolverine acts as a backup discard, where it's something else we can discard with Colleen. Has 2-4, already pretty decent stats, but when Colleen goes from being a 2-4 to essentially a 2-8 or a 2-6 that gives us +1 energy next turn, she starts to become a really busted card. Now, the reason X23 shines so much in this deck is because of the fact that we can use her to cheat out some of the most powerful 5-cost cards in the game on turn 4. Professor X, if you played against any number of Thanos decks, you know just how backbreaking it can be when your opponent slams down Professor X on turn 4, especially when your opponent is not expecting it. Makes it so we essentially only have to win one more lane. Another really nice thing about this is it helps us dodge priority, and because we're going to be sometimes closing the game with a big threat that is obviously in Shang-Chi range in the Infinite, it definitely makes sense for this deck to be able to throw priority pretty easily, and winning one lane with X on turn 4 often allows us to do that. Jeff is really flexible here. Not only does he help counter opposing Jeffs that could try and shut down our X lane, but he's also just really good with Angela. We can pump the Angela, we can move him around, he can get into locations that are otherwise tricky for us. It's just, Jeff's still one of the best 2-drops in the game, and he makes a ton of sense in this deck. And then we have the Lady Sif, Ghost Rider, and Infinite package. Now, this might seem a little strange, but it's been surprisingly effective. Sif into Ghost Rider was a combo that was really prevalent in the beta. It eventually got nerfed. We haven't really seen it much since then, but the fact that Ghost Rider can bring back your Infinite is really huge, especially when we're often able to funnel most of our power into one lane and try and get them with a big surprise burst of power on the final turn. But this combo isn't only good for the Infinite. If we end up discarding Professor X or Legion, that still enables us to mana cheat out a really impactful 5-drop as early as turn 4 and get a 3-power body alongside it. I've used Ghost Rider a bunch of times for X or for Legion, and it ends up being a really impactful tempo swing that the opponent usually does not see coming. Another cool thing about being able to cheat out Professor X on 4 is it also enables us to pass on turn 5 and to slam the Infinite on turn 6. This generally also throws priority and prevents the Infinite from getting Shang-Chi'd on the final turn. Legion is, I think, the best Series 4 card in the game right now, maybe alongside Zabu. The amount of games that this card scams is absolutely absurd. There are just so many locations where if it's not good for your opponent or if it's better for you, and you can get that Legion down, especially a turn early with either Ghost Rider or the mana ramp from X23, it just totally flips the game on its head, and it's really hard for the opponent to come back. Chavez is nice in this deck as well. We don't play her a whole ton, but she's really there to guarantee that consistency. Chavez always good in a kitty deck, but in this deck, we really care about getting our early cards when we need them in the early game. So anything that helps us get that X23 and Colleen in hand, or that Sif and Ghost Rider, is just going to make this deck a lot better. I also want to give a shout out to everyone interacting over on Twitter. I've been kind of dropping some hints about this deck, had a lot of people try and like figure it out. It's a rare thing in Marvel Snap that we have a deck where no one has really tried it before, or it's kind of an unknown archetype, and I think this is one of those rare times, so it's been really fun kind of dropping hints and seeing different members of the community trying to put the puzzle pieces together to figure out what this secret sauce is. So if you've been wanting to play a version of Discard that's not the same old MODOK, Dracula, Apocalypse kind of stuff, this is going to be the deck for you. I certainly didn't expect it to do as well as it did for me upon first glance, but after trying it out and getting familiar with the lines, I've been consistently impressed at just how well this deck ends up doing. And there's also a great surprise factor to it, as very few people really know what to expect or how to react to this style of deck. The other reason I really like it is we are generally pretty resilient to tech cards. You do have to be pretty careful with your Infinite depending on the matchup. If you're expecting your opponent to be a Shang-Chi gamer, you definitely want to not just slam down that Infinite on turn 4 with Ghost Rider if you think they can easily remove it. However, sometimes that can be an appealing line if you think they are going to Shang-Chi, or if they just immediately snap and try and tell you they have the Shang, you can follow up with that Professor X to just close down the lane and essentially make them waste the majority of their turn. This is definitely one of my favorite decks to play in the game right now. I've had a ton of fun with it, and I hope you will too. I'll leave a link to the deck in the video description as well if you want to import it into game. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and stay tuned for some more Conquest gameplay with it tomorrow if you want a better feeling for how it plays out. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.